Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back with more of our F1 2020 McLaren driver career mode. Back for season 2, round 15, yes, here at the Temple of Speed at the Italian Grand Prix circuit. But some exciting news before we jump into this one. We finally, hopefully now, have an open reel rim that works with Xbox once again. And I thought, you know, it is the McLaren GT3 rim from Fanatec, so it only seemed fair that we jumped straight back in to the McLaren RTG here today. That's sort of been the reason why there hasn't been any videos over the last couple of days. I've been getting this set up, fine-tuning a couple of settings as well. So obviously, yeah, apologies there wasn't any videos Monday, Tuesday. Obviously, we're going to have today's video, and then I'm going to aim for either tomorrow or Friday. And then, of course, for the F2 series heading out over the weekend as well. So yeah, very, very excited to be jumping back into it today, testing out the new rim for the first time in a video. Obviously, if you guys are new around here as well, make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. It really does help us out a lot. We're trying to hit 15k at the moment. We just crossed over 13,700, so now just 1,300 away from the big goal at the moment. So yeah, like I said, if you can help us get one step closer, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. But yeah, heading though to the Italian GP this weekend. Of course, if you missed out on the last race from Belgium, go back and check it out, unless of course you want some spoilers in 3, 2, 1 now. So, heading to the Italian Grand Prix, the final race in Europe. We currently lead the championship by just 19 points now even. I should say the gap between us and Lando Norris there. Hamilton still just in P3, 7 ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas. And constructors-wise, we're, 148 clear at the top at the moment. So things are looking pretty good. McLaren looking like it is going to be one of our drivers that wraps up the World Championship this year. You know, 80 points back to Hamilton with just 6-7 races to go is, yeah, a tall order for the Mercedes man to try and close back up. But you never say never. In Formula 1, we've seen what Raikkonen's been able to do back in 2007 against this very team. Hopefully we won't have that sort of implosion like McLaren did way back when. But yeah, let's dive in then here to the Italian Grand Prix. So here we are then, ready back at the Temple of Speed, the Italian Grand Prix circuit. Very, very much looking forward to jumping into this one today. There is a bit on my mind though this weekend. Obviously, of course, the championship battle heating up between myself and Lando Norris. We do just need to try and keep it clean, keep it tidy. Don't do what we did at Belgium last time and bin it on our qualifying lap as well there. You can see the setup that we're running ready for this weekend. But I just want to dive right into it. Qualifying day for the Italian Grand Prix. Always a track that we've gone pretty well at on F1 2020. It's been a track that suited me quite nicely for the most part. So hopefully, despite being on the new wheel, we still stand quite a good chance this weekend there. Obviously, top end speed in the McLaren really, really strong as well at the moment as we head down in towards the first chicane. There are a lot of curb on the way in. Try to avoid the wheel spin on the way out. All fairly nice and tidy that time round there as we head down in through Curva Grande in towards the second chicane of the lap there. I think we are just about fastest at the moment there. There we go, purple in Sector 1. Stamp on the brakes at the 100 metre board in for Sector 2. They got a really good run actually through that chicane. Is that Renault? Currently second fastest at the moment. That would certainly be an interesting turnaround for the books. Obviously they had that brilliant race back at France. But yeah, pretty much just been, you know, a high-end midfield runner throughout the entirety of the season. And yes, it is. Daniel Ricciardo was provisionally fastest there. It's a battle between Ricciardo and Hamilton as we head down in towards the Ascari chicane here. No idea where our teammate Lando Norris has gone as we try, just clip the inside curve there and had a bit of a panic moment on the exit. Down in towards the final couple of corners though, Hamilton currently looks to be fastest as we head in towards the final turn. No, it's still Danny Rick at the moment. Who is going to get pole for the Italian Grand Prix? I think it is going to be Lewis Hamilton as we head out of the final corner. Not a particularly great lap from myself. It's P5 in the end there, but Hamilton finally ends the McLaren stroke, the McLaren resurgence, the McLaren dominance on pole position. I can words.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Hamilton, Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Right. Well, okay then. Lando Norris actually starting just behind me there, which I'm quite surprised by, but it seems like this weekend is going to be between Renault and Mercedes of all people. So yeah, there you go. Hamilton on pole position. Daniel Ricciardo joined him on the front row there. You got the Mercedes of Bottas right behind his teammate. The same can be said for Ocon and his teammate there. We make up row 3. Racing Point make up row 4 there. And Pierre Gasly in his AlphaTauri went quicker than both Red Bulls in 10th and 11th there. Home team as well, Ferrari, down in 12th and 13th place there, just ahead of Danny Kvyat. And then homeboy Antonio Giovinazzi down in P15 as well there. So some interesting storylines coming out of qualifying, but the McLaren race pace is always pretty good this season. We tend to move forward in the Grand Prix. Can we do the same today? Let's dive into it.
Welcome back to one of only 2 countries that has held a race every year since the very first Formula One World Championship in 1950. It is, of course, Italy, one of the great racing nations, and it's time to get underway for the Italian Grand Prix. We're 12 miles northeast of Milan for today's Grand Prix at a Monza circuit where we can expect top speeds of around 215 miles per hour. 11 corners on this 3.6 mile track, with 7 of those coming in the form of chicanes, and with a good slipstream and DRS open, there should be plenty of opportunity for some passing here today. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1, so how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
Well, the throttle goes both ways, Crofty. You've got to have the discipline not to try and win the race on the first lap, so always be prepared to lift early and give those around you more space. Trying to be the last of the late breakers with half a dozen cars around you may pay off from time to time, but it's also a great way to lose your front wing.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Ocon, Mr. Monaco, and Norris, Stroll, Perez, Gasly, and Max Verstappen, Vettel, Leclerc, Daniel Kvyat, and Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Raikkonen, Kevin Magnussen, and George Russell. Latifi and Alexander Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So here we are then on the grid, ready for the Italian Grand Prix, ring 15 of the Formula One World Championship, just 7 races to go. And the final race in Europe today, yeah, back at a truly iconic Formula One circuit. Very, very much looking forward to be jumping into this one. Actually starting on the outside down in towards turn 1 here. But yeah, we need to try and keep it clean and tidy and look after our front wing. That is going to be absolutely critical at the start of this one. Not going to put as much spare fuel in the car as we often do, just because I think generally the engine upgrades on it now are pretty good to say that we don't need to all too often. But yeah, normally we find ourselves in the front row, at least one of our cars on the front row. The great Lando Norris has been formidable on 1-lap pace this season, but Renault and Mercedes this weekend are looking pretty quick, so we might have a good battle on our hands. 13 laps ahead of us though, only time will tell as we get ready on the grid then for the 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix. It is 5 red lights and it is lights out and away we go. Responding pretty well actually as I head down in towards turn 1. For the first time, actually saying that, we don't really have much top end. So as we trying to look back around the outside of our teammate Lando Norris, the yellow flag's out. As obviously he is the main man we need to try and beat this weekend, of course. They're out of the first chicane. Just trying to remember where my ERS and my fuel map buttons are. But it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve on the new wheel. Obviously I get used to where they are on each and every one there. As Ricciardo really trying to defend from Valtteri Bottas at the start of this race here. It's given Hamilton a good opportunity to try and break away as we head down in through Sector 2 in the Lesmos for the first time there. But you can see, yeah, those 3 cars, as we just run horribly wide on the exit of the second Lesmo there. It's going to be a drag race with our teammate Lando Norris as we head down the back straight with it. I'm just using a little bit more of my ERS though, so we do hold on to the position. But yeah, really unsure whether as a team we've got the pace to hang with those guys this weekend. Obviously it'll be a case of trying to get into a good rhythm on the opening couple of laps here. As you can see, Lando Norris still trying to find a way past us. Gasly has moved himself up into P7. Who would have thought we'd see Gasly doing well at the Italian Grand Prix there? Certainly an interesting combo. One that I don't think has rung any bells in Formula 1 history there. But end of lap 1, Hamilton leads the way at the front of the field. Then he's got Ricciardo, Bottas, Ocon. And then myself and Lando Norris behind him. You can see Ricciardo and Bottas going defensive in towards turn 1. But Ricciardo lives to fight another day. My God, Lando Norris has got a huge run on us as we head down in towards the final corner of lap 2 here. He seems to always get a massive slingshot out of Ascari there. We will have the inside line, and we will just about live to fight another day against our teammate as we head out the final corner. Hamilton already setting 119s in race trim there, as we also set a 119, not far off the fastest lap. But Lando Norris still trying to go side by side with us as we head back down in towards turn 1. Again, we've got the inside line. We should just about be able to defend that once more. But yeah, all this battling not helping us out too much as Bottas now has got past Ricciardo. So maybe we'll see Renault's race pace fall back a bit into our clutches. As we get ready to start lap 4 though, we're now all over the back of Ocon and Ricciardo. It's going to be interesting to see what that Renault top end speed is like. Obviously very, very good in qualifying. They probably did have the fastest car down the straightaways there. But Ricciardo very much going backwards at the moment as his young French teammate tries to have a look to the outside. Down in towards the first corner. They are going to be side by side here. Renault really do need to sort this out, otherwise they're going to go backwards as we all try to get the run around the outside of Ocon there. Just not quite enough room on the exit of the corner. We're going to try and use a bit of RERS as we head down in towards the second chicane here. I just don't think we quite got enough top end there. Ricciardo again going defensive on his teammate. A big lock-up from Ocon as he sits on the apex in the first part of the chicane there, so maybe the Renaults are working together, but if they are, it's certainly an unorthodox tactic.
Right, come in at the end of this lap.
Oh, we got yellow flags out as we're about to dive into the pit lane. Oh, just about get the car slowed down into the pits there. We actually lost the place to Lando Norris in the meantime there, but you can see, I think that is Magnussen dropping out of the Grand Prix as well there. So K-Mag out. Unfortunately, no safety car there, but yeah, I was just struggling a bit on the soft compound tyres there. I thought it was probably worth just diving out onto a set of mediums and getting some clear track space in this Grand Prix. But heading back out of the pit lane though, still up in obviously P19, but a long way to go. But yeah, hopefully the clear air can really help us out. Not too sure when everyone else is going to start diving into the pit lane in this Grand Prix. You can see we were purple in Sector 1 there, taking a bit too much curb on the way into Ascari there, just second guessing ourselves ever so slightly. But yeah, we are feeling pretty quick at this stage of the day as we head down in towards the final corner there, crossing over the halfway stage of the race now. But whether it's going to be good enough to potentially leapfrog the Renaults and maybe, just maybe, get ourselves up towards Valtteri Bottas here. I think Hamilton has tried to check out in this Grand Prix. New fast lap of the Grand Prix though. That's exactly what we need. Just applying the pressure to the guys up the road. Oh, so there we go. We have got one of the Renaults and Racing points in at the end of lap 7 then. Not too sure which one of each it is. But it could be moment of truth time in this Grand Prix there. Which ones is it going to be? We've got the Racing point, the Red Bull of Albon even I should say, into the pits as well there. But look at that. We've come out cleanly ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in this Grand Prix there, so that is a very, very good sign with just 6 laps to go here from Monza, up now ahead of Danny Rick, and could we be close maybe to Ocon and Valtteri Bottas? Oh, there we go, Lando Norris into the pit lane at the end of lap 8, I'm hoping we can try and get around Giovinazzi as well here. I don't think we are, it's not worth a lunge in towards the final corner of the lap. If anything, we can get some DRS off him. What is Giovinazzi doing? Why? You're not being lapped. Just get on with it. He's not even pitting. I've got no idea what that was about. Giovinazzi just sat on the apex there. But you can see, look at that. We are past Valtteri Bottas in this Grand Prix, though. So this has worked out absolutely perfectly for us in this Italian GP. Could we be close to Hamilton by the end of this? Have we accidentally finessed the strategy in just a bid to get some clean air? There we go, last few guys are now diving into the pit lane, so it is going to be moment of truth time. Are we potentially going to get a huge undercut on Lewis Hamilton in this Grand Prix there? He was comfortably out front at the start. You can see we've got 3 seconds over Danny Rick behind us there, but I think the answer, unfortunately, is going to be no. Hamilton already re-emerging out of the pit lane on a set of hard tyres, though, for whatever reason. So, 4 seconds the gap to Lewis Hamilton at the front of the field with 4 laps to go. if those hard tyres aren't particularly great, oh god, as they normally are around Monza, this might not be over yet. The gap 3 seconds as we head out of the first chicane there. We could, well, we're not going to give up, put it that way. This might not be over as Gasly has leapfrogged himself all the way over to P4 now of the Grand Prix there as well. And he went for, I think, a bit of an overcut in this one. So both strategies working, but if you stayed with the pack, it really hasn't been your day. Just over 2 laps to go then here from Monza. I think the gap to Hamilton, unfortunately, yeah, just isn't coming down enough at this stage of the day there. But far more notably, Valtteri Bottas has had to pit again here, so he must have picked up a bit of damage trying to get past Daniel Ricciardo there, or perhaps defending from Pierre Gasly, because Bottas now is in last place in this Grand Prix there. So another hammer blow for Mercedes. It's going to give Hamilton a bit of safety over his teammate in the little inter-team battle, but not good for the team. Getting ready to start the final lap then of this Italian Grand Prix, and it looks like Hamilton has been a day where he's done everything he needs to. Mercedes finally could be back on top there. Is that nowhere? New fast lap of the Grand Prix. I'm pleasantly surprised by that. If we can take away the bonus point, I would be incredibly happy with that as well there. But yeah, Hamilton and I, they're very much able to romp away from the field, but in pretty different circumstances there. Hamilton got the pole. Ricciardo alongside him didn't get a particularly great start down in towards turn 1. So Hamilton just romped away as the guys behind him duked it out. We pit after getting jumped by our teammate Lando Norris on the road, and then just absolutely banged out some laps on the mediums as everyone else seemingly tripped over each other in this Grand Prix there. But it has allowed us both to be 6 seconds clear of Daniel Ricciardo at the moment there. Team saying minor wear on the engine, so maybe we're going to need some penalties or replacements for next weekend there. You can see some of the engine wear on your screen for just a moment. But in towards Ascari for the final time. It's going to be, what, Mercedes' first win since, what, maybe round 3 of the season? I genuinely can't remember the last time we saw Mercedes win a race in this championship. But down in towards the final couple of corners, though, Hamilton is finally going to get back on the top step of the podium. But it is a hollow victory, I think, because given some better qualifying pace, we certainly are still a very, very quick package there. Across the line, P2, we will take it very happily indeed.
So Mercedes have won it, and what a great race it was. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but the truth is they simply had the best speed package on the day, and a driver who knows how to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter how much time you spend poring over the stats and planning strategies if you can't keep the pace, and our winner today showed they could do both.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. Let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
It's got to be Lewis Hamilton. I mean, he pulled off some impressive feats out on the track today, even by his standards.
Let's move on to the constructors. McLaren continue to increase their gap at the top. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
So there we are then, guys, the end of the Italian Grand Prix. And yeah, quite a weird and wonderful race when all is said and done there. But Hamilton does finally get Mercedes back on the top step of the podium there after a very, very quiet season from the Brackley-based organisation. They're very much in McLaren's shadow throughout the entirety of this series. so far there. But we come through for P2 there, just ahead of Danny Rick in P3. Lando Norris in 4th place. That's still a very, very good job by our teammate there, despite the car's lack of pace this weekend. Perez up in 5th place there. Ocon down to 6th when all is said and done, just ahead of Gasly, who again seemed to rise up the order and fall back down it just as quickly in the second half of the Grand Prix there. Stroll 8th, Max Verstappen 9th, and Sebastian Vettel does pick Ferrari up a single point in the team's home race there, down in 10th place. Charles Leclerc just missing out, and you can see the rest of your finishing order on your screens there. Bottas did sneak fastest lap away at the end. Finished P18 though, so it was kind of a nothing at the end of the day there. Championship-wise though, that means the gap at the top back up to 25 points between myself and our teammate there, and it does now officially mean only McLaren's Mercedes and Sergio Perez can be world champion this year. 100, no, I tell a lie, Danny Rick could still win it, but he does need every race win and pretty much every fastest lap as well. There are 155 points available if my maths hasn't failed. 156 points available even, I should say, if my maths hasn't failed me there. It has many times on the past, though, in this series there. We can see the only other movers this weekend. Gasly, once again, gets back past Alexander Albon in their battle for P11 there. Just 3 points now behind Sebastian Vettel in his Ferrari. No other movers, actually, in the Drivers' World Championship. Constructors-wise, Red Bull do once again get the jump on Ferrari there in what is quite possibly the weirdest battle for P5 in the Constructors' World Championship. Racing Point and Renault still very clear ahead of both teams there. And yeah, 153 now the gap for us, as despite Mercedes winning, we still further extend our championship gap over them as well. 505 points to 352. It's looking very, very good at the moment for ourselves. And yeah, very good result, considering it was the first race on the new wheel as well there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well. And yeah, we will definitely be back very, very soon with more of our McLaren driver career mode, where we will be back for the Singapore Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.